G'day Tiger fans, thought we would just do a quick video just to address some of the Tiger stuff that's come up in the last 48 hours roughly. Nothing too major, but just a quick little update and discussion to chat about all things Richmond. I suppose the most interesting thing that's come out in the news again in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, is Mitch Cleary sort of doubled down a bit on what John Ralph had mentioned about a week or so ago in relation to Luke Bruest likely coming across to Richmond as a development coach. And I also heard, I don't know where this sort of came from, but I think there was also mention of Taylor Duryea as well, who was at the Bulldogs and obviously a Hawthorn player as well previously. So if those things do come to light, I think they'll be very, very good additions, especially Luke Bruest. I mean, he's been such a good player for such a long time, played in, a Hawthorn side that was almost unrivaled as one of the best sides in the modern era. Has the wisdom of Clarkson. He's obviously played under Sam Mitchell, who's doing some good things. Uze would have had a bit of work to do with him as well when he was at Hawthorn. And look, even though he would be maybe or likely in a development coaching role, which was usually typically associated with the young players coming through, I'm sure there's still lots of good things he could pass on to the older and experienced players as well. But can you just imagine having players like Jasper Ralga and Seth Campbell, Taj Houghton, Seth Campbell, Morris Rioli Jr., players like that, being able to pick Luke Bruce's brain on forward craft, on team football, on what it takes to get the best out of yourself at the highest level, the work rate, the running patterns, everything, goal kicking. It will be absolutely worth its weight in gold. I mean, there was one season for Hawthorn, and look, these numbers won't be completely accurate, but you get what I'm trying to say. There was a season at Hawthorn where at one point in time, I think he had kicked something ridiculous like 22 or 23 goals straight before registering it behind. It was a phenomenal season, and I know that's not something you can replicate and expect year on year, but he knows where the goals are. And if there's one thing that we do need, it is some more goal-kicking presence. So, he maybe does some work with Harry Armstrong and Jonty Fall as well. Not necessarily exclusive to the Smalls, but if that does come off, I think that would be a good get. And Taylor Duryea, look, I've liked him as a player, really hard-working. I don't know much about him from a coaching or a development standpoint, but what I do like and what I am a fan of is when it comes to these development-type roles, I really do like having people in that role that are fresh out of the game because they have a better understanding of what's required to play at the level. They have a better understanding of what's currently happening in the current AFL environment, all the different systems, the game plans, and all the ins and outs. So they're really up to speed. That's why I really liked the Jake Siebel appointment as well last year for the exact same reason. I feel they can connect better to these younger players having just been in that environment themselves. So if those two things come through, I think they'll be really, really good additions. And to add to, obviously, the promotions of Jake Batchelor and Sam Lonergan. So, I've been reading a lot of commentary from people being a bit concerned that we haven't had many outside coaches come in, which to me seems a little bit confusing because Jake Batchelor was from the outside, Chris Newman was from the outside, Blake Carousel was from the outside, Jake Siebel was from the outside. So we appointed 4 from outside the club last year alone. And then we might be bringing in Bruce and Taylor Duryea. So I think we're getting fresh eyes in. I don't know what people are kind of expecting, but you got to give them a chance to then settle and get to work on what they're doing and roll out the plan and let it get to work. I suppose the question you keep seeing pop up is in relation to the forward line. People are still concerned about Chris Newman being a defender as a forward coach. Now, again, I'll say it again. He's been out of the game for over 10 years. It is now completely irrelevant where he played, I think, anyway. He's done coaching at line level. He's been a line coach for the forwards at Hawthorn. He's been a VFL coach, and I think they win the flag or got to the grand final. The defensive stuff where he played means next to nothing now. He's got so much more experience. I think what you'll find, the reason for our forward line lack of functionality was simply because of the inexperience and the personnel, and a lot of that is on us wanting to fast track and playing two young experienced forwards alongside Lynch, who's maybe, he's not what he once was. And so when you couple all of those things together with a new game plan, and it seemed like there wasn't as much instruction for the forwards, which the club kind of did admit to later on in the year, they discussed. So we will need to see some improvement there. We will need to see some cohesion, and we will need to see some proper game style and patterns and functionality and connection between front and back half. I just don't think pointing the finger at Chris Newman is the right way to go about it, because he wasn't exactly dealt the best hand of cards to play with from the start. He's got to get these young kids up to speed, and that doesn't happen overnight. Like, they don't get that much time with them, as Uze said on SEN, to get these things sorted. So let's just hold fire for a little bit. Let's see what 2026 brings us. If we don't see improvement of any kind in that area, then yeah, questions need to be asked. But for the moment, let's just sit back and see how this plays out. In terms of other news, the draft rules for next year aren't officially changed just yet, but it sounds like there won't be a lockout, but more that there's going to be, you need to use greater picks to be able to get access to players. So the example that was used from Cal Toomey, and I don't know how real this would play out in the real world environment when they lock it all in, but the example used was, if we bid on Walker at pick 1, the Blues would need something like pick 2 and pick 12 to be able to then match, as opposed to having pick 12, pick 40, pick 41. So you have to use 2 picks only. So you can't just bundle up a heap of shit picks at the end to pick up these good players. You have to turn it into quality, which is good. It's good because it means if teams want these high-end players, they have to trade either their players, existing players out for currency, or they've got to bundle picks up and trade to other clubs who will benefit from having multiple picks as well. So it just feels like it'll hopefully even up a little bit what teams give and receive in order for these bids to happen. It allows the team with the player to still have access if they're prepared to cough up the relevant currency. And it will be interesting if we do finish last or second last, if we do make a play for him or not, and sort of put the pressure on the Blues. I hope we do. I hope all clubs do. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Don't help your rivals. So that's another one. But again, not fully locked in. We'll wait and see how it plays out. Tyler Young, there's no really new news other than the gut feel from Tiggs and I, and probably a lot of people, is that he probably isn't going to stay. It just feels like that at this point in time of the season, if they haven't re-signed or recommitted, it more likely than not that they end up leaving. The question is which of the 3 offers in front of him will he go with? So we're led to believe that West Coast was one, and was it maybe the Bulldogs was the other? I have heard Collingwood had interest as well, but I'm not sure how high of a level that got to. And then it comes down to what currency or what trade worth is he in that type of space. But a bit to play out there. But yeah, there's a little bit going on. We're going to be entering the free agency and draft period shortly, which we may not have a lot to do in. But I think what you might find from Richmond is we won't necessarily be actively trying to trade in players with the picks that we've got. But I think if teams like Hawthorn come to a crossroads when they're trying to do a trade for Zach Merritt and they can't get it done, that's when maybe we can step in and help broker a deal with a split pick that might then lead to a player coming across with one of their first rounders as well. Something creative like that would be the only way I see us acquiring a player outside of a draftable player. But I guess, as Tiggs mentioned on the show last night with the trade stuff, that it all kind of really hedges on what happens with West Coast. If they get pick 2, then I think we start considering some split options for pick 4 if the player we want's not there. If they don't get pick 2 and we walk in with picks 2 and 3, it does feel a lot less likely that we would split those picks and we would just pick the best 2 players that we want, which I think is a win either way, right? Like, I don't think we would be unhappy with any of those options. But yeah, a bit to play out. So look, we may not be deep into some of the big star names that you hear being bandied around, but I think let's watch this space of 2026. I reckon that's our time to strike, and Uze sort of alluded to that in his interview on SEN as well. But there you go. There's a mini Tiger update. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Did I miss anything? Feel free to add anything I've missed in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Go Tigers.